When Olivia Stoa was invited to an exclusive fancy dinner, she quickly jumped at the chance. While sitting at the dining room table admiring the beautiful walls full of old family photos, her hosts, Regina and Syra, began their discussion. The 2019 blog Deconstructing Becky explains, Stoa recalls these women immediately pointing out this kind of access to family connections is a direct result of white supremacy. Stoa highlights this event, called Race to Dinner, brought to light her own ignorance surrounding her complacency with white supremacy. Daily Wire of February 3rd, 2020 notes, Race to Dinner aims to smash your white fragility, focusing on white leftist women. This intervention has white women flocking to pay thousands of dollars to hear just how racist they really are. Created by Regina Jackson and Syra Rao, both women of color, their mission is simple. Reveal the naked truth of racism in America, and demand you unleash your power as a white woman to dismantle it. Given, The Guardian of February 5th, 2020 explains, 15 dinners have already been hosted since the spring of 2019, with a reported revenue well over $40,000. It is imperative we ask the question, how does Race to Dinners, use of the kitchen table intervention, rhetorically redefine conversations about race? To answer, we'll look to McCutcheon and Cole's 2019 journal article, You're Not Welcome at My Table, Racial Discourse, Conflict, and Healing at the Kitchen Table, published in the Journal of Gender, Place, and Culture. This model is ideal for our analysis because it uses the framework of Jewish Shabbat dinners as an avenue to process the violence of the 2017 Charlottesville white nationalist rally. Today, we'll examine McCutcheon and Cole's model, apply it to Race to Dinner before finally examining implications. Because as Jackson and Rao tell the aforementioned Guardian, if this conversation were held in a conference room, these women would just leave. The wealthy white women have been taught never to leave the dinner table. In their process of healing from the Charlottesville violence, McCutcheon and Cole researched the symbolic Shabbat dinners hosted by Repair the World. In the Jewish tradition, Shabbat dinners are used to reflect on the Sabbath and express beliefs. They recognize the healing potential of the kitchen table through three tenets: the table of reckoning, the table of obligation, and breaking bread. First, the table of reckoning, or using the table to reckon with the past. This includes a space for communal recognition. It is important for all present to set their feelings about racial identities aside. The symbolic table holds people accountable for their past actions, while simultaneously acknowledging historic acts of racial violence. Second, the table of obligation, which focuses on our obligation to the present. This table forces white people into a place of action, making it their obligation to act. Since the public display of violent intent at Charlottesville, no longer can whites sit back and let people of color carry the emotional labor for ending racism. Rather, they encourage people to do the difficult work of breaking down white supremacy. Finally, breaking bread. As a gesture of the future, the concept of breaking bread is essential. People have the choice to break bread together. It is a call to action and hope for future nourishment. After understanding what has been done, what is being done, and what can be done, how are you going to respond to it in the future? This symbolic table is key because it allows people to engage in transformative work under a new context of camaraderie. The Pacific Standard of February 2nd, 2020 explains, Jackson and Rao offer attendants an almost biblical story of their depravity. White people are privileged, irrevocably stained by their whiteness, like the original blood of sin. These dinners offer an opportunity for baptismal rebirth and conversion. With a better understanding of McCutcheon and Cole's model, we can apply it to Race to Dinner. First, the table of reckoning. Race to Dinner's goal is getting white women to reckon with their racism. The New York Times of February 26, 2019 explains, white women were prolific slave owners who held more power than previously documented. They were able to walk away from their past. Race to Dinner is here to serve it back to them. Upon considering her own potential Race to Dinner experience, Kristen Hirsch realized, if I didn't want to confront my racism, I would suffer no repercussions for opting out. Second, the table of obligation, which focuses on our obligations to the present. Race to Dinner aims to get white women to recognize their racism through having uncomfortable conversations. Karina Maxon, a host of Race to Dinner, explains, Regina and Syra created a space where white women were willing and able to be vulnerable, share honestly, and increase their own personal attunement to their acts of racism. Finally, breaking bread. Table as future. Jackson tells the aforementioned Daily Wire, even if these white women aren't in positions of power themselves, their family, friends, or partners are the white men in power. The dinners are not a final destination. They aim to bring light vital conversations and commonly held ideologies to create a better space for people of color. Returning to our research question, how does Race to Dinner's use of the kitchen table intervention rhetorically redefine conversations about race? Race to Dinner's use of the kitchen table as a starting place for difficult conversations creates a transformative atmosphere in the safest place for white complacency, the home. Thus, we must analyze two critical implications: the illusion of rebirth and commodified progress. First, the illusion of rebirth. McCutcheon and Cole's first and third tenet highlight the positive impacts of connecting the hopes of the past with the future. Race to Dinner aims to reconcile these paths. Their mission statement encourages women to choose gender over whiteness, in an effort to realize their liberation is directly connected to women of color. However, India West of February 18, 2018 explains, while the biblical allegory of rebirth over supper offers hope to women experiencing cognitive dissonance, it's more symbolic than anything. 53% of white women still voted for Donald Trump, despite poll projections and public statements against women. It's not where the conversation starts. It's what you do when you leave the table that matters. Second, commodifying progress. McCutcheon and Cole's second tenet demands we oblige our present reality. It is no secret that Black Americans are one of the few groups to never receive reparations for the suffering they endured. However, the Pacific Sun of February 5, 2020 explains, by charging upwards of $2,500 a dinner, Race to Dinner aims to translate this into the only language whiteness recognizes: money. These women are only recognizing their racism because people of color are putting in the emotional labor to explain it to them. So they should probably be getting paid more. But in the same breath, this could lead to commodifying progress. In comparison with the Shabbat dinners mentioned in the model, which cost $5 per person, Race to Dinners are incredibly expensive, which limits the amount of people who can afford to be informed. That is, if you can't afford to change, should you get the chance to learn? Before Race to Dinner, Rao explained she had spent years trying to get through to white women with coffee and teas and got nowhere. She thought, if nothing's going to work, let's try to shake them awake. Today, we analyzed McCutcheon and Cole's model, applied it to Race to Dinner, and examined implications. As Jackson reminds us, if you don't own it, you can't change it. And change doesn't come without pain. And that's something the Olivia Stowells of the world will just have to stomach.